How may one deal with insufferable people without losing one's head? For instance, if a truly enlightened Sadguru is debating a highly exoteric, ignorant Protestant fundamentalist, how may that guru shower the combative other with light?
What is a...
He has to be willing to suffer the unsufferable person.
What does Sadguru mean exactly?
I imagine when they met, they couldn't decide who was the one that was depicted here.
I mean, each one thought they were a kind of Sadguru?
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's something to that. You wouldn't believe the number of people who are out there trying to be prophets and getting all these impressions and dreams and everything, and taking every one of them as a message from God.
Yeah, I think they all are firmly convinced that they're right.
Nothing more dangerous. Sadguru is almost a prophet, or a, I mean, it's pretty high.
That's a scam.
That's a specific individual with the H, but let me knock out the H and see what S-A-D-G-U-R-U means. Sadhu. A sadhu is a special
Yes.
type of guru, a Sadguru. I found it spelled S-A-T, but it's a super guru.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. Let's just replace it with, super sheikh or truly enlightened individual.
Yeah, enlightened.
Yeah. And I do see it spelled with a D a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, so do I. But is the question here, how does one get through to them, or how does one hold one's ground, or does one hold one's ground?
Shower the combative other.
Or how does one get the gum off of one's shoe?
No. I think we've talked about that. We've talked about that before. No,
Yeah.
I'm asking if one is engaged with a truly unenlightened individual, and one is, having at least a bit of light within their soul.
7:15, but I'm sure we'll be back by 9.
We can, one can always smile and indicate to the best of your ability of beneficence, but whether or not you say anything depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, the whole notion of exoteric versus esoteric, I mean, supposedly there's a relatively small part of the population that have the capacity or interest and capacity to understand esoteric teachings. So it may be that if this person is highly exoteric, you just can't talk to them about anything esoteric. Right. You have to, you can be nice to them. And
well, I think you'd have to ask that question to the Sadguru, actually. If he's enlightened, he may have an intuition about just the right thing to say or do, but I could only guess, and probably guess wrong.
Well, if you're dealing with a fanatic, and I'll take Churchill's definition of a fanatic here, that is someone who can't change his mind and won't change the subject.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
There's nothing to do but say,
no.
You have your belief and I have mine. Have a nice day, and God bless you.
Yeah, well, I think it says that.
You can also say, gee, well, for your sake, I hope you're right.
Yeah,
anyway.
The question really, is there an opening for a discussion and exchange of ideas?
Yeah, well, there might be, but it would situational.
It would be limited. You couldn't say, you are God. I understand you're God just like I am. So let's talk.
That's going nowhere.
Or maybe the question here really is, what would a Sadguru say to that kind of response? Would he or she give to that kind of situation? Ideally, you can imagine the world's perfect guru as responding in a way that opens and changes the position of the person who was too narrow or wrong.
Yes. If you can pierce the veil a little bit, then perhaps it will continue to unravel later.
If you can have that conversation.
Right.
You know, if somebody says the world is flat and there's just no arguing about it, if they believe that and they're not open to discussion, there's nothing to say. If they're open to discussion, then you might say something like, let's just start right now. Let's go to the edge and let's start right now, and we'll just keep going east until we get to the edge.
Yeah, and then we'll look over and see what's there.
Well, no, and then you get back to the same point and say,
Well,
they don't know that.
Well, yeah, but you'd mark the point, you know, and then you keep going.
Well, yeah, but that's quite a journey.
Yeah, but sometimes it's a journey.
It's around the world.
And so then they say, well, you know, maybe it's a cylinder. Okay, let's go to the edge. Let's walk north until we get to the edge. You know, and then you get back to the same point, and then either they say it's round, or they say you're fooling me and I don't understand.
Yeah, you deceived me. You're the devil.
Yeah.
Some people can be broken through to, and some people are afflicted with ineffable and infinite imbecility.
I like that. Infinite imbecility. Yes, let's keep that term.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Beyond hope.
I think in that case, you know, the issue is maybe the Sadhguru has to say, well, this person is beyond hope. Abandon all hope, ye who enter next to this person.
Into this state, yes.
Yeah, yes. And maybe the Sadhguru just needs to walk away.
Yes.
You know, like the cowboy at the end of the Western movies, off into the sunset.
Yes, I mean, that's the thing, is it's so dependent on the person and the situation, and whether or not heaven sends you you know, an insight into what to do. Well, you know, I think there are a lot of good stories in the oral traditions about people who have been able to say things and it changed somebody, and I'm sure it happens, but I'd say it's I wouldn't count on my being able to do it.
Well, you say if the guru is debating this highly exoteric, ignorant Protestant, I mean, you wonder why. What was it about the guru that motivated the Protestant to enter into some conversation? Was there something about the guru that struck the Protestant as,
well, possibly
interesting enough?
He saw the guru wearing traditional garb and he started talking.
Well, you know, I'm not a party to lots of enlightenment, but the little bit of enlightenment that I have, what I've noticed that the more I try to share it, the more it draws out the sticky, icky people, because the sticky, icky people don't seem to like enlightenment very much, and they try to fight against it.
That's right. The opposite charged pole will be attracted. So if you're out there trying to be positive, you'll attract negative. I mean, I don't mean as a big, you know, fundamental law, but I mean on the level of human interactions and things. If you're too positive, you're going to offend some negative person, and vice versa. Except that if you're a positive person and get offended by a negative person, you've just become negative and they won.
Well, I often think about the notion of the fraud, and I know I've mentioned this, the hidden ones. I mean, there are people that are enlightened to some extent, completely or a little bit, who just choose not to interact with exoterists at all because there's no point to it.
There's no point, yeah.
Say nothing, basically. You remain hidden. And often that could be perfectly legitimate. You don't have to go out and convert the world to esotericism, knowing that it's impossible anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a calling, it's not a requirement.
But if somebody comes up to you and say, I noticed that it seems like you're different in some way. Could you help me? If somebody perceives that you're a hidden one and starts asking questions, well, just answer the questions,
Yeah, you could, or you could say, well, what difference do you see? And start there.
Yeah.
See, how do you mean I'm different?
Yeah. Well, why do you ask? I mean,
I'm curious about that. Because I often feel different, but
thought we were all different.
Yeah, but what do you mean specifically?
Yeah.
Then it might produce an opening for just some positive interchange, but most likely not. And most people can only go so far, and even if you get them engaged a little, if you try to take them another step, they'll reject you. It's not generally isn't worth the bother, but that I leave that up to the Sadguru.
They usually, so frequently, most of them have some little key thing that if you cross that little line, you are an enemy of their tradition.
Yes.
Well, yes, that's true.
And inculcated in their thinking to such an extent that it's pretty hard to get beyond it.
Well, and some people are so hypersensitized to enemies that they find them everywhere they can because they need them.
So I guess the real question is, how do you assess if this person is really interested or
That's
open,
right.
Or favorable to learning or a new point of view, or in fact, are they simply interested in asserting their own rigidity?
Yeah, or they may just have a passing curiosity and they want an answer, and if you tell them something, they'll say, huh, and then, that'll be it. I mean, there are all these possibilities, but I have had conversations with well-meaning exoteric Christians, and I generally ask them non-challenging questions. If I'm in a situation where I should simply be nice because I've met somebody and I don't want to be rude, I'll ask questions and see where it goes. Get them talking about what's important to themselves. Then you may have trouble getting them to stop, but then you'll know if there's anything more to do. One thing might lead to another, and it shouldn't take too long to find out if it doesn't. And you want to leave with goodwill. I mean, my rule number one is never undermine somebody's faith. And some questions are barbed, whether even if you may not realize it, it's good to be careful.
I remember visiting. I had one of my wife's youngest sibling, or sister, is a member of a Bible church, and fundamentalist Bible church that doesn't even have a denomination.
Right.
In a suburb of Portland, Oregon. And I was out there on business with hydroelectric stuff, and I spent the weekend with her, and I went to church with her. And, she asked me, we're going to go to church. Would you like to go? I said, sure. So I remember listening to the sermon, sitting through the whole service and listening to the sermon and thinking, well, you know, I was a devout Baptist from age 4 to 19, so I'm familiar with, I mean, it all sounds good to me. I didn't have anything to say, oh, this is awful, Melissa, this is, It occurred to me that to be critical of it, I mean, it's valuable to the extent it's valuable for the people for whom it's intended, as it were.
If the sermon is egregious, then you may feel the need to say something, but
I didn't hear that, you know.
Yeah, but otherwise, you know, that sermon may have brought your sister one step closer to God, and perhaps one step closer to realizing she needed a little bit deeper religious experience and change denomination or find a denomination.
I think it's also possible that someone can have a good view of the truth and mistake these people as being their enemies because they are their exoteric viewpoint.
Well, and vice versa.
Well,
I think that Prager, who, are you familiar with the commentator Prager? He's a Jew.
No.
He said that, well, which would you rather meet in the alley behind this building? A group of Baptists leaving their prayer meeting, or a gang?
Or a what? Oh, a gang, yeah. That's easy.
Criminal gang.
Oh, you know, before you make too big a leap.
Wait a minute. Is that the choice?
Well, I think the point is that no, that's not necessarily. But you don't. I don't think you can make.
Would you rather meet a gang, or would you rather meet aliens who eat human flesh?
Well,
aliens who eat human flesh, that sounds a lot like exoteric Protestants to me.
At least now, can something be said for exoteric Protestantism in that there are some who believe that this is the only path to salvation, and that if you don't take this path, you will be lost. And they are charged by God to save you, which means converting you.
Yeah, exactly. Save you from the fire. Yeah.
Which means converting you, whether you want it or not, whether you like it or not.
As long as they don't try to beat it into you.
Because they're going to be judged for not carrying out the mission.
Well,
I mean,
they are
not like,
yeah, most of them I don't think quite. I think they think of it more in the sense of gaining merit rather than avoiding damnation by helping others.
Yeah,
see
I mean, how do you think monotheistic religions have spread? Fear and the sword. I mean,
yeah.
Christianity and Islam are big religions today because they were the religions of empires, and they would go in there and basically, forcibly convert people or put the fear of God into them.
Or disadvantage them enough that they thought maybe they better claim to be something that they aren't, like in Moorish Spain in 1492.
There were Jews who purported to embrace Christianity just because it was a lot safer there.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other hand, some of them may have ended up becoming Christians. And they probably did. The cryptos became the real things.
They became real Christians, yeah.
Yeah. But it is true that I think more people are brought into religion by being beckoned or pressured than are attracted on their own, toward the light, whatever light is there. I mean, most people just grow up in a religion.
Show me the studies that prove that.
Prove what?
That more people join a religion out of fear than just
a
spiritual attraction.
Now, I'm not sure about that, but I know that some proselytize based on instilling the fear of hell in people. But I don't know, which predominates, people being attracted or people being scared, but to have a religion spread by fear is going to be harmful to that religion as well as to the person that has the fear instilled.
Well, a lot of religions have used that. I mean,
yeah, they have
that tactic.
Yeah.
It's not exclusively Christian.
Oh no, it's not. But it's always a problem, because it always means that the person who's promulgating it that way believes they have all the answers, and they never do. And a lot of proselytizing is well, of course, in Christianity, go forth and take the good news, but
well, of course,
a lot of the stuff that's done in the name of religion is done by people who have insufficient faith in their God, to take care of things, and they have to go out and get their hands dirty doing God's will. Now, if they want to go out and use their, get their hands dirty feeding people, it's hard to argue with that. But if they think they have to, build God's community, there's already a danger zone. I mean, Jesus didn't go out and look for disciples. He found them. They found him.
Well, I was thinking about when I was 4 years old, I played with a couple of sisters across the alley that were older than me by a few years, and enjoyed playing with them. And they invited me to have supper with their parents, and I did that several times, maybe once a week for a while. And then they said, "Would you like to go to church with us?" We go to I said, "Oh yes, of course." And they said, "Well, we'll ask your mother." And my mother said, "Fine, fine." So I wasn't threatened by a sword or fear or anything, or even there was no hard evangelical stuff. "Would you like to go to church with us?" I said, "Yeah, of course."
Yeah, well, that's
something new and different.
Yeah, exactly. There's no problem with that. I mean, that's a harmless kind of grooming.
Yeah, well, the good tends to spread itself. That's
I mean, and if you believe
of joy and value,
that's right. If you believe you have something good, it's it's normal to want to share it.
Yeah.
And that's the positive side of proselytizing. But if your goal is to bring people into the organization rather than simply share the good news, it gets contaminated easily.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if I found some surefire, easy way to lose weight, and I said, if you're interested, I'll tell you about it. You'd probably all say, "Tell us about it." Let's hear it.
Yeah, don't eat. I mean, it's like, simple.
It's simple.
There are solid, simple answers, but the easy part is the hard part is carrying it out.
Doing it, yeah.
It's because it's not just changing the way you eat, it's changing something more inside. And that's always slower than simply deciding what to put in your mouth.
So do we have time for another question? It's 6:58.
Not much, but we do have some.
Okay.
I have a quotation that goes with question number 2.
Oh,
all right. So I will ask question 2
ask
first.
It first.
Yeah. If one is a member of a spiritual community and one sees a member of that community embodying evil and behaving in evil ways, what is one's responsibility?
Okay. I'll read a quote of St. Catherine of Siena.
Good source.
It says, "The order in itself can neither be spoiled nor corrupted by the fault of the subordinates or the superiors. One wishing to enter an order should not consider the bad people that are within. He should support himself on the arm of the order that is strong and cannot weaken, and remain faithful to it until death.
Yeah, that's not surprising, and but on the other hand, on an interpersonal level, you might want to talk to that person and see if it's possible to help them see themselves.
Right.
Yes,
I didn't say that I wholly agreed with that in every aspect.
No,
But
it's not absolute.
It was an answer that zeroed in on number 2.
That's right. And it's
Yes.
sort of like, if you see somebody whose practice is bad, don't let it discourage you about the doctrine.
Right.
Yeah, or the order.
Yeah, the order.
But yes, one can, and maybe one should say something individually to somebody.
Of course.
I see such and such. That seems not very good. Are you aware of this? You know.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's the first thing. Are you aware that you do this, or that people react to you in this way?
Yeah.
And,
or do I have this right? When that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Self-awareness is always the right solution. Some people will avoid that with all of their strength, but most people have a little room for it, at least. But yeah, I think you have an obligation, if you're part of a community, to be supportive of the members, and that means helping somebody who's fallen into error.
Yes, even though it doesn't mean you're responsible for supporting the purity of the community.
No, and nor does it mean that you're responsible for saving the other person, but you do, you approach the person with goodwill and do what good you can.
And that's presumably why both of you have joined this organization.
Yeah, it's being a good member of the community to be helpful to a community member.
Well, of course.
Well, if you have someone that attacks your view because they discover what it is, you can tell them that, well, we may not be able to agree about these things, and I don't intend to denigrate what you believe, and I expect you not to denigrate what I believe.
Well, yeah, but in this case, what's posited is that you have observed that the person is in evil ways.
It's not what they believe, but what they're doing or something.
Well,
that was reverting back to question number 1. Yes. Right. Yes.
So anyway, I think you do have a responsibility to help someone who has fallen. And if they refuse to get up, then, knock the dust of the place off your sandals and go on.
Well, if you're in a spiritual community, usually there's some sort of hierarchy in the community, and there may be situations where it's impossible for you to communicate directly with the person you.
Yeah, exactly. There may be somebody else who can help more.
There could be somebody else in the hierarchy that could.
Sure.
Well,
maybe somebody.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was going to carry this to the next exponent. Maybe the person who's having this issue actually is part of the hierarchy.
Well,
that happens.
It happens, and sometimes that's hard to deal with, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Well, a priest has authority over how the service is conducted, and so on and so forth. He may not have that same authority when he walks into some other community.
Well, maybe not, but it is possible for someone higher in the hierarchy to fall into error or behave badly, and that's a more difficult problem.
That's right.
But you still have to approach it with goodwill.
Right.
Well, I think that's going to be the last question.
And not only goodwill, but openness, because maybe this is an occasion where you have something to learn.
Yes, exactly. I mean, everybody you think's wrong is not necessarily wrong.
Not necessarily.
But that was a premise of the question.
All right, good chat tonight. Thank you all.